The way to get what you want is to give yourself the emotions of already having it vibrationally, being that future identity, not needing the outer reality to change, by knowing that this is just who you prefer to be. Welcome back to another episode on Into the Vortex with Aaron Dowdy. My name is Aaron Dowdy, and in this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the exact roadmap that took me from my old reality where I was not doing what I love for a living, the old reality where I was feeling very stuck, really much living in similar patterns over and over again, feeling trapped in the pain of my past, which is only about 3 or 4 years ago, let me also say. Really wasn't that long ago that I was living in that reality. However, what I did is I didn't necessarily focus on the things I did to get where I am at now. I focused on becoming the version of me that I've currently become, which some people will call our future self. And as I became my future self, that's when my outer reality changed, because I've known for a while, since 2012 when I went through my awakening at least, that our outer reality is a reflection of our inner reality, and that the way we view ourselves and that the way we're showing up in the world is being directly reflected back to us. And if I want to make any change on the outside, I must first off make a change on the inside. So back in 2017, that's when the process for me became me dedicating to my future self, being my future self, and within a very short period of time, my whole entire life transformed. So in this episode, what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you a step-by-step becoming your future self roadmap for what you can do. These are things that I wish I knew 5 years ago. If I knew this stuff 5 years ago, I would have gone way quicker. I would have been doing what I love. I'd have been in much more abundance. And it's stuff that I wasn't aware of energetically until now. So what I'm going to do in this episode is save you so much time. I'm going to simplify this process, and you're going to have a game plan, a step-by-step game plan by the time you're done with this episode that's going to really just lay it all down on the line for you. You're going to understand what you got to do, and not even just do, but who you have to be. And I think that clarity is the main thing that we really need to focus on too. Because when we talk about becoming our future self, if I ask you that right now, who and what does your ideal future self look like? What would your answer be? Do you know who your future self is? And how that future self version of you is thinking, feeling, and acting. What does that future self version of you believe about themselves? What is their self-esteem like? How do they show up in the world? Do their body language, is it very outward focused? Do they define themselves as labels and say, I'm a shy person, I can't do this? What is their belief system about themselves, and how are they showing up in the world? You see, most people don't ever even think about this. And because they don't think about it, guess what they do? They continue to be the old version of themselves over and over again because they don't have a vision, they don't have an imagination that points them in that direction. They don't have like a North Star of where they're going. So they say that most of the thoughts we think every day, 90% of them are on autopilot from the day before. And because we see ourselves and we're thinking, feeling, and acting equal to the way we've been yesterday over and over again, because we never make a choice to go beyond, we continue to live in the same reality over and over again. And that's in this episode, what I want to show you is how to bridge those two realities. Now, even with what we know about quantum physics as well, all realities we can imagine exist right now. So the future self version of you already exists in a reality that is not far off from this one. Because if you can imagine it, if it is close to your reality, as in you have the same family and all these, it's a probable reality. The way we increase probable realities in our, like the way we shift to a more probable reality is based on our intention and our choices and our clarity. and then committing to something. And those choices are what really get us to that reality. We make a choice about who we are and then embodying it. That's the reality that we end up shifting to more and more. Now, the first thing I wanted to do as well is I wanted to point your attention towards what is called agreement. Now, if you've ever read the books The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, the Toltec tradition talks a lot about these teachings, but everything in our life is a story. It's a story we tell ourselves. There's a story we tell ourselves about who we are, the kind of food we like, the kind of food we don't like, and why we don't like it. There's a story around the kind of people we date. There's a story around the kind of people that you enjoy being around. There's a story around the kind of job that you work and how you feel about it. There's a story about what you believe you deserve in your life. And there's a story about how you interact with your family. These are all stories. And the problem and the thing that has happened is we believe that these stories are fixed. We believe that the stories we tell ourselves day in and day out are just these things that are static. You can't change them. You've always been this way in a relationship. This is how you're meant to be in the future. This is the kind of people you attract into your life. This is the kind of people you will always attract into your life. That's what we believe when it comes to these stories. And a lot of times we don't delineate or differentiate stories from reality. We overlay our beliefs and our opinions on our stories all the time. And then those stories that we tell ourselves, we could also say these stories are beliefs about reality. They're beliefs. And a lot of times we're not aware of these stories. We're not aware of these beliefs. And then guess what? They're on autopilot. You keep attracting them over and over again. I've had beliefs or stories, subconscious stories as well, that I didn't realize I felt safe in. Or not even just safe in, it felt familiar. Many of these stories are just familiar. You may have a story that you have an inconsistent father, for example, and then you may realize and become aware of that men in your life in general are inconsistent. Not knowing that there's a subconscious belief there that says, men are inconsistent because my dad was inconsistent, and then your boyfriends or the people you attract in your life as men are also inconsistent. There's a story there. A story is a meaning. Different people have different meanings, different stories, and the meanings we give to our life are reflected back to us. This is the beautiful thing about reality. The further down the rabbit hole we go, the more we realize that we are meaning-generating machines. We are constantly generating meaning about who we are and how we relate to the world. And everything has no built-in meaning other than the meaning we give it. So when we look out into the world and we say, oh, look, that's a beautiful sunset. And even though many people may be at the Grand Canyon looking out to this beautiful sunset in awe of its beauty, and we may all agree that, yes, this is a beautiful sunset, the meaning is agreed upon us. It is a meaning we are giving that we can all agree on. Isn't it nice when we agree as a collective on different things? Isn't that a beautiful sunset? We all agree with that. But where does the pain come in our society when we don't agree? When we have different meanings, different stories about the way reality is or the way reality should be. There are people on the planet right now that can tell there's a lot of craziness going on. There's a lot of chaotic energy. And there are some people that give it this meaning that everything is going to hell in a handbasket. They're in constant fear because they're believing the stories that the media tells. And because they believe and they buy into it, guess what? They're in fear because the meaning they are buying into, they are agreeing to, the narrative they are agreeing to is one that is putting them in fear, and they're choosing to be in fear whether they realize it or not. There are other people that understand that this is a part of a global spiritual awakening that is happening on the planet, that there are old systems falling apart, that the old systems falling apart are a part of this shift in consciousness that's happening. Even though it appears to be very fearful on the outside, there's a deep knowing and a sense that this is all happening so that we can let go of an old paradigm that doesn't work anymore. That's another story. It's a story that maybe feels a little bit better. Doesn't it feel better to get a part of that story? Now, is it true? Is it true? Well, it depends upon your belief system. I choose to believe that. Now, notice I say I choose to believe that. That's my belief system. That is my spiritual understanding of what's going on, but I don't expect everyone to believe it. Why? Because everyone has a different belief system, and I believe that one truth in reality is that all truths are true. Whatever you believe to be true will be reflected back to you. And when we study like the Dolores Cannon material, by the way, which is like deep people that were in deep hypnosis that have talked about the changes happening on the planet right now, when we talk about that, there was this mention of 3D to 5D Earth, these different timelines that exist. Guess what? It's happening right now. You look out into the world, you see the craziness happening. You look out into the world, you see the spiritual awakening, people being awakened and all the old systems falling apart. They're different realities, overlaying themselves at the same time. Isn't that crazy? But you see, it's all based on the story and the meaning we give to our reality. Now, one of the first things I want you to know, and the reason I'm giving this dialogue on the future self, it's like, how is this related to becoming my future self, Aaron? Realize everything in your reality is based on agreement. Everything. Everything. Money, for example, is this non-existent thing, this paper, money. We look at it and we agree that this money, this $100 can get me about this much stuff. About a quarter of a cart at Whole Foods. That's what $100 can get me. That's what we believe, right? And we agree on that. So when I go to Whole Foods and I give someone $100 or $100 worth of a credit card or whatever, and then they give me, gluten-free bread and like keto waffles or whatever the hell they give me, or I get, we agree on that. But money itself is this neutral idea that isn't even backed by gold anymore. Just throwing that out there. But that's the idea. It's all based on agreement. This is a clip from the Daily Vortex podcast where I post 2 times a week, and we go really deep on understanding consciousness, understanding how to raise our vibration, how to bring these spiritual concepts down to earth in a relatable and practical way. For the whole entire episode, you can click the link below, but also subscribe to that of the Daily Vortex podcast on either iTunes or Spotify. That's where there are a backlog of over 100 episodes, plus the whole entire episode length is there. On this channel, you will only be seeing clips moving forward. So if you want the whole episodes, you can click the link below. You can subscribe. They're also very easy to listen to. They're automatically downloaded once you subscribe, plus you'll never miss an episode. So this is where most of my intention is and my energy is going these days, and I look forward to bringing you many more amazing episodes. But for the rest of this episode, you can click below and you can subscribe to the Daily Vortex podcast, and I look forward to helping you expand your consciousness in a very practical and relatable way. So I'll see you on the next episode, and as always, peace, much love, and namaste.